we're going to be looking at Japanese houses, Nihon no ie. Let's get a general overview of what a Japanese house might look like. First of all, you'll notice Japanese houses tend to be very tightly built together. There's not much garden around them, and they tend to look quite higgledy-piggledy from above. You can see here's a traditional old-style house made of wood with a traditional roofing next to a concrete house there, which has got a balcony on top, and both very close together. Here's another view of the same street. You can see there's the concrete house, and again, look at the different types of houses, all very closely packed together. And the person taking this picture is standing on a balcony, because many Japanese people actually live in apato, or apartments. This is quite a typical picture of a big apartment block. You might find this in Tokyo or in Osaka, and you can see that they're separated. Each apartment has 2 sets of sliding windows, and they've got their futon, their Japanese mattress, out there because it's a nice day and you need to air your futon so that it doesn't go mouldy. We'll be talking about them in a moment. This is a traditional style house that you might see in the countryside. This is much more older style, and you can see that it's got a sliding door out the front and sliding windows here, and it's also got wooden shutters which go over the outside there to keep you cozy in winter. And of course, reverse cycle air conditioning and heating is very common in most houses. This is rather a large house. You'd see it in a city, and again it's got sliding windows here. It's got its futon hanging out on the balcony to dry, and it's also got a nice little spot to park its car. You can see here it's got a little garden. That's probably as much as you get in a typical Japanese house. We're going to have a look at the house entrance. It's called the genkan. Let's have a look at a photo of it. This is what the genkan looks like. It's where you enter. You can see here is the sliding door coming into the house. You come into the house and there will be an area here which is easy to clean, and it's where you come in with your shoes on and then you take your shoes off and you either pop them in here in your geta bako, or you can just leave them neatly like that. Notice that you have to turn them around so that when you leave the house they're ready to slip your feet into and off you go. You always step up into the house if it's traditional. Sometimes in a flat you don't actually have the step up option, but you will still have the difference in flooring to delineate where it's so-called sort of outside shoe wear, and then when the inside of the house starts. You never wear your shoes inside a Japanese house. Okay, the living room, ima. You may recognize that's the same sound as the word for now, ima, but it means a living room, and we're going to have a look at a sort of thing that it could look like in a Japanese house. This is a fairly modern looking ima. You can see it's kind of open plan there with what would actually be called a kitchen. There is a Japanese word for kitchen which we'll learn in a moment, but when it's modern they often use the word kitchen. There's the reverse cycle heating and air conditioning that's so common in Japanese houses, and because this is the Western style part of the house, it hasn't got Japanese traditional flooring, tatami matting, and it's got sofas to sit on. You can see you can peek through there, and that's probably where the Japanese style room is, with its tatami matting on the floor and sliding door cupboards to put the futon in. Next we have the generic word meaning room, and that's this kanji here, heya, hair, and of course that's a place where you often brush your hair, so you can remember it that way. Have a look at this kanji here, this ya. It's very, very similar to this one here. It's also a room, but it's pronounced shitsu, and it's being used here as a bedroom with the word to sleep, shin shitsu, a sleeping room or a bedroom. Now shin shitsu is quite a modern idea. In olden times you did everything in your Japanese style room. You slept there, you ate there, you relaxed there, but nowadays many houses have bedrooms, shin shitsu, upstairs, and they tend to be furnished in the Western style. Here's a typical teenager's shin shitsu. It's got lots of stuff in there, of course, reverse cycle, air conditioning and heating. It's probably got a balcony out there. There's his tsukue, his desk. Of course, the shape is nearly square, So it's easy to remember tsukue, lots of electronic gadgets, and a betto, because this is furnished in the modern or Western style. Here's another typical teenager's bedroom, tsukue. This one's a slightly more Japanese style room because you can see it's got tatami matting on the floor. And this is quite typical of a teenager's bedroom or shinshitsu. Finally, here you can see clearly a betto. Interestingly, it's got a Japanese style covering, Japanese futon, and it seems to have a futon style mattress, but it's not on the ground as you would expect traditionally. It's up on a bed, and he's got this Western style flooring. He's got his tsukue, and he's also got a few other things to make him comfortable. Next, we're going to look at the generic word Western style room, yoshitsu. And if your bedroom is a Western style room, then you can remember yoshitsu because it's probably like your bedroom, yoshitsu. Japanese houses often have two halves, one which is furnished in the Western style, where you sit up on chairs and on sofas, etc., and the other which is what we call a Japanese style room, or washitsu. This is a beautiful example of a washitsu. Now, a washitsu has a number of things. First of all, these mats here, they're called tatami mats. They're a standard size, and in fact you can measure rooms in a Japanese house by how many tatami mats they are. So a 5 tatami mat room would be of a certain size. You have a tokonoma here, which is where you put your hanging scroll with something seasonal in it, and also, if you like, you can put ikebana, your flower arrangements. You have sliding cupboards, or doors, cupboards with sliding doors, and that's where you place your futon, because these rooms are used both for night activities and day activities. So at night time you put your futon down, and in the morning you pack it up and put it in the cupboard, unless you're putting it outside to air, and then you can use the room as a day room. Let's have a look at how the futons work. These are the futon all spread out on the tatami mats, ready to sleep on. You can see they've got a mattress underneath and a cover over the top. And this is one of those cupboards with the sliding doors, and that's where you're going to be putting your futon in the morning. Put it away, and then you'll be taking it out in the evening to sleep on. During the day, this would be a typical scene in a Japanese style room or a washitsu. These are chairs which are on the floor. You don't have chairs up on legs in a Japanese style room. And this table here is called a kotatsu, and you pop the top off and you lay your beautiful warm futon on the top there of the frame, put the tabletop back. Underneath there's a little warm light that keeps you toasty warm, and you can pop your feet under there and you can eat on your kotatsu or watch television or whatever. Now the word for kitchen, daidokoro. Now a modern style kitchen, you might hear the word kitchen, but daidokoro is the actual Japanese word, and there are a few features of a daidokoro that are interesting. This is an older style Japanese daidokoro. There's no oven. This is the cooker, because Japanese really don't do much baking at all, and they tend to be quite small, so you often find a lot of things in them. This is a more modern daidokoro, but I want you to have a look here at the reizouko. We'll learn that word later, but it's very, very interesting Japanese ones. They've got lots and lots of doors in a reizouko, so that you can pull out this drawer and have that for your vegetables, and then you can have meat drawers and so on. You can see again, relatively smallish. They tend to have lots of gadgets in them. Daidokoro. Next, we're going to have a look at the word for a Japanese bath, ofuro. The o actually isn't part of the word, it's honorific, but most people add it, ofuro or furo. This is an ofuro that someone might have in their house. It's very typical. The whole room where the bath is, the ofuro, is a wet room. And before you hop into the ofuro, you actually have to sit here on this little stool, and you can either use the water from that tap and fill that little bucket up and slosh that over you to get clean, or you can use the shower here. But whatever you do not hop into the ofuro until you're spotlessly clean. Now that water is used by the entire family, and that gadget there keeps the water circulating through a heater, so it stays warm until the last person's finished using it. And because of that, they put a nice insulated lid over it when they're not using it. That's an ofuro, and you find the ofuro in an ofuro ba, or a bathroom. There we have bathroom, ofuroba. Next looks at the Japanese style toilets. Two words for toilets, or te arai, or honorable, te hand, arai washing, so that's the honorable hand washing place, or very commonly it's also called toire. Firstly, I'm going to show you a traditional style toilet. That's not one that you sit on. You place your feet on either side and you have to squat with this toilet. Japanese people feel that they're quite hygienic because you don't actually put any part of your body in contact with the toilet, and you will find that in most places, public places, they will give you a choice of either Western style toilet or a traditional Japanese style toilet. Now this is a modern Western style toilet, and they are getting quite a reputation around the world because they are fabulous. This is your control panel, and this controls these nozzles, these jets of water here that give you a nice clean after you've finished using the toilet. The toilet seat is heated. You can choose your temperature. You can choose the temperature of the water here and the strength of the water, and sometimes they also have gadgets which include music that you can play so people in the neighbouring toilets can't hear what you're doing. And other choices as well, which escape me. The one thing they don't do though is flush. You have to actually use that manual gadget there to flush the toilet. Moving on, we've got stairs, kaidan. Japanese houses are mostly two-story, so in most houses you will find kaidan. Then we've got isu, a chair. We've got teburu, a Western style table that would be on legs. Beddo, that would be again a Western style bed up on legs. And there's futon, the Japanese style mattresses, and you've seen what they look like. Dana, that's a shelf, and if you have one specially for books, that would become a hon dana, a bookshelf. Mado, and they tend to be sliding windows in Japanese houses. Door, that's a Western word for door, so they would be opening outwards. Aircon, they're those reverse cycle heating and cooling things that we've seen in many pictures. Stobu, now stobu is the traditional way of heating houses. This is a stobu, but most houses, most modern houses, they've superseded these and they use the reverse cycle heating, air conditioning. Next we have the word for fridge, and I've shown you a picture of those with all their doors. Leizouko is a fridge. And finally, a garden. I've also mentioned that Japanese gardens are very small, but if you are very, very wealthy and you do have a big garden, then it might look something like this. This is actually someone's garden, and you can see a feature of Japanese gardens is a lot of paving, beautiful paving here, and they tend not to have lawns. This here is probably not grass, it's probably moss, so lovely decorative trees and lots of pretty paving. One thing you do find a lot of in Japan is public gardens, and this is a very beautiful example of a traditional Japanese niwa.